Good afternoon. This horrible Friday evening in not so sunny Scotland. It's absolutely horrible outside. The only thing that's brightening up is here, as they're saying, I've been tempted to put up a few of those pagan Christmas lights just to cheer up the place. More of that another time, and I'll just show how extensive I've gone totally paganed out. Anyway, this video this afternoon is really about this very strange thing that Jehovah's Witnesses refer to people like myself who do videos like this, or maybe just vocal about their witness experience, and they refer to us as bitter ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. We're all bitter. We're all very bitter. And I don't blame the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses for having that viewpoint, is because they've been instructed to have that viewpoint, and I've heard this viewpoint even expressed from the Kingdom Hall. And it's really odd, isn't it? And the reason why they have this viewpoint is because in their minds, in this race for everlasting life, that basically two things have happened. Number one, we've been shown a red flag and been disqualified for doing something inappropriate on that race to life, and we've been asked to sit out the race and not get back on unless we're very good and we can rejoin a lap behind, or we eventually, instead of running, we slow down and eventually stop and walk off and sit at the side. So basically, either scenario for the Jehovah's Witnesses work. So in other words, what's happened is that we have stopped running in this race for everlasting life. And that's what we're bitter, because now we're stranded at the side of the racetrack and we're watching all our friends and our relatives and all our chums continue to run around this track. And we're just sitting there, calling them for all sorts, call them this, that and the other, because we were not good enough. And as we vocalise, as we get interviewed, why we're no longer in the race, that we're being bitter about it, we're being, we're very resentful that we're out of it, and we apportion the reason we're at the race on them, not on us. Now the funny thing about it is, and the hypocrisy behind people like me being referred to as bitter ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, is that Jehovah's Witnesses, of course, they're sort of staying on the same sort of figure, although I'm sure that who can trust those figures anymore. The only thing that's bizarrely that the emblem partakers are going up. Something not quite right there. So the only thing is that obviously we can only explain that Jehovah's Witnesses are standing steady at 8 million through a couple of things, and that's obviously because through the children. Obviously each one of them's going to have maybe 2 children, maybe at least one of them will get baptised, another one will maybe leave at 15 or whatever, and the process continues. And as people live longer, it's going to slight increase, and it should stay around about the same as long as they're all not watching videos like this. And but there are cases, and not many of them. There are cases where people actually do come along to Jehovah's Witnesses who formerly used to belong to another religion. Yes. And of course, hold on a second, I need to just put this light on. That's better. You can't see it, it's a lovely light. It's three little snowmen in a glitter thing. Anyway, and there are people who do come into Jehovah's Witnesses who have seen the light. The ex-Protestants, Catholics, Muslims and Hindus, or agnostics or whatever. They come into the witnesses and when they come in, because they aren't just somebody's son or somebody's grandson or whatever it is, they are their example of seeing the light after maybe 30 years being a Catholic is beamed everywhere. First off, you get that in the local congregation, then you meet it at the circuit assembly, then it's the district assembly, and before you know it, you're on org, you're on that thing. And they're absolutely full of it. And I don't mean full of it in the derogatory sense that they're full of shit. Well, they are really, but let's paper over that. So absolutely full of it, because for years and years and years and years, they didn't know the truth and they just went on with emotions of being religious or spiritual or whatever, is thinking that they'd come to know God, and now the Jehovah's Witnesses, through carting or chapping doors or whatever it is, they've just decided to learn the truth. Now, the funny thing is, I had an example of this not so long ago, maybe a year or two ago. I had somebody at my door, obviously was a recent convert, it was a middle-aged woman, and she was absolutely full of it. And I think she must have been an ex-Protestant, because she was saying how for years and years and years her church, she would have said chapel if she was Catholic, so years and years and years her church had hidden the name of God. Hidden the name of God. And now that she knows the name of God, well, according to the Jehovah's Witnesses version of God, she's be able to grow closer to him. Now, the funny thing is if you think about this for a second, right? Okay, I've never met Adolf Hitler. I've never met him, and I don't know what his title was, the Führer. We'll call him the Führer. I never met him, never met him personally, never been able to have a relationship with Hitler. But imagine if we didn't know his name. Imagine we only knew him as the Führer. Imagine that's all he was known in the history books. He was known as the Führer. Now, because I don't know his name, doesn't mean that I can't understand what the man was all about at all. Because, I'm not going to have that relationship with him, because I'm never going to personally meet him and speak to him and say, how's it hanging? It's never going to happen. I can only, read things about him and see some grainy images of Adolf Hitler. Now, it's very similar to God. I'm never going to meet God in a million years. I doubt he actually even exists. So even when I did believe he existed, I was never going to meet him anyway. So knowing his name, how did that draw me closer to him? Bizarre. It's really, really odd. The only thing that but Hitler and God have both got things in common. They both think they're very powerful and responsible for the slaughter of millions. So, heaven knows that resurrection of the righteous and unrighteous, he may be back. But anyway, so I don't understand why people get so emotional about finally learning this name thing. Oh, I'm closer to my God. I'm closer to my God because I get to use his name. And Jehovah's Witnesses love to use that name, Jehovah this and Jehovah, and oh my God, it's Jehovah, man. It's absolutely lovely. In the end, doesn't just because you know somebody's name doesn't make it. You don't draw closer to them at all. If God actually came and was bothered to actually come on and actually chat to us, maybe you could have a real relationship with somebody up until that time, it's never spoken to you, ignored your prayers, and's invisible. It's just bollocks. So anyway, you get these witnesses who come along, and it's all over the witness world how there used to be ex this and ex that, and everybody loves it, blah blah. Oh, what a fine witness, what a lovely example. So they come along and they're all this, and like this woman who came to my door was absolutely full of it. Now you can't blame them for it, but the thing about it is they're encouraged, now they've found the truth, to go out and trying to convert as many people as they can, to go into their family and their friends who all may have a belief or a basis of a belief, and to tell them the truth. They're encouraged by Jehovah's Witnesses to do that. And we have seen examples where one person gets converted and they manage to bring in maybe the whole family, generations of family, and they all get Bible study and they all become Jehovah's Witnesses. I've seen examples of this happening. Now, the odd thing about it is because, it's a little bit hypocritical, because these guys are never referred to as bitter ex-Catholics. They're just referred to as Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, the thing about it is, you can really understand why a lot of people do this, because obviously if they've got dead grandfathers and grandmothers, or they've lost children or brothers and sisters, they, with the witnesses come along and saying, oh, you have the hope of, the resurrection of the righteous and the righteous, and you get to stroke a panda and maybe get to meet Adolf Hitler, depending on his heart condition when he killed himself in the bunker. I never ever understood that concept either. But anyway, the thing is, and there's another interesting thing, is, right, imagine there are two twins. Now, both of them lead an unrighteous life, as we recognise, that standard in the Bible. They're both unrighteous, they lead an unrighteous life. Now, one of them dies the day before Armageddon. And according to the that scripture, it means that he gets a good chance of getting a resurrection as part of the unrighteous who come back, and gets a chance to change his life and to stroke a panda and have chats about where Hitler went really wrong to Adolf Hitler. But the sad thing is that his twin brother didn't die the day before Armageddon, and of course when Armageddon came, because he wasn't righteous and living a righteous life, he got put to death. So the question is where's the justice? Where's the righteous justice in that? If any Jehovah's Witnesses come to your door, ask them that question. I'll be scratching their wee head thinking, yeah, you're right, that doesn't make any sense. It sounds like maybe this isn't a God of love after all. So anyway, let's get back to the person who's now converted to being Jehovah's Witness, brought in all the family because of the hope of the resurrection of the righteous and the righteous, and getting to meet Adolf Hitler and stroke a panda at the same time. Oh, it's a lovely panda. You just bit my hand off. So anyway, the thing about it is they're never ever referred to it as bitter ex-Catholics, bitter ex-Protestants. They're just always known as Jehovah's Witnesses. Isn't it funny? They don't refer to themselves as bitter ex-Catholics, but now I'm a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm sure their family and friends don't refer them to as being a bitter ex-Catholic, but now they're a Jehovah's Witness. But bizarrely, if we leave Jehovah's Witnesses, we are bitter. It's a bit odd, it's a bit odd. You join the Jehovah's Witnesses and you think you've found the truth and you need to tell everybody all about it, and that's okay. But when you find out the truth about the truth, you're supposed to keep that to yourself. You're supposed to slink away and not say anything to anyone, and keep it to yourselves. As we know, like to keep things to yourself. Keep it to yourself. You're not supposed to go out and broadcast and tell other people what your life during the witnesses and what you subsequently found and are still finding out. You're not supposed to do that, because that shows you being a bit bitter. It's funny, it's not. It's exactly the same scenario. Somebody who all of a sudden who learns the truth. When you learn the truth about the truth, you don't want to keep it back to yourself, because you want to help people who are still in the witnesses come to an accurate knowledge of the truth. No, there could be a book title. So that's what you want them to do, and you're hoping that maybe they will watch videos like this, by the host of people now do videos like this, and that they will watch them and just get them thinking. It may not work, you never know. Or people who are on the verge of going, maybe they'll watch them and think, yeah, there's no point hanging around anymore. Or people who've left the witnesses and thinking, shit, was I right to leave? Yes, you were right to leave. Are you alone in thinking these things? No, you're not. So there must be some comfort there. So at the end of the day, it's quite simple. Yeah, going back to the example of this race for everlasting life, the thing about it is, the race never ends. The race never ends. And everybody gets to drop out of it. Nobody ever gets to the finishing line. Nobody does. Either you are shown the red flag and disqualified, or you just walk off yourself, or eventually you just drop dead. And for loads of Jehovah's Witnesses I know who thought they were in the race of life, they have dropped dead. Because as we know, that finishing line is around a corner, and when you turn that corner, it's around another corner. It's a bit like being in a queue for for the Harry Potter ride in Florida, whereupon you think you're just near the end, but as you turn the corner, there's a whole section of winding section, and so it goes on. It's just the queue that goes on forever. And the race for everlasting life, there is no end to it. It just goes on forever. The only thing that we can maybe feel bitter about is bitter about the time that we wasted being in a race which never had a finishing line. That we were, completely under an illusion that there were prizes at the end, but there were never any prizes. This race just went on and on and on and on and on, and there's no end to this race. There's no prizes. So yes, you can be bitter about that, because during the time that you're in that race, you could have gone on and accomplished things in your life, worked on your talents, or gone, done second, more education, university, and done something with your life and seen great places and met some brilliant people. But instead, you wasted your time on this bloody race trying to get other people on with you, and there was never ever a finishing line. So yeah, we have a lot, all of us who left witnesses, especially if you're in it for, you know, a number of decades, you know, especially dedicated 30 years of your life to it, we have a lot to be bitter and resentful about. And doing videos like this is just our way of expressing ourselves to try and make any sense of what really went on when we were there. And that's it. So for a Jehovah's Witness to call me a bitter ex-Jehovah's Witness, maybe I am. Maybe I am bitter about my experiences, but I tell you what, I prefer now being out of that race than being in that race, because there is never ever going to be an end to that race until you breathe your last breath, and that's it. Anyway, on that joyous thought of ding dong, merry young chime, I'm off. Enjoy the rest of your day and this weekend by the time you get to see this. Bye bye.